Hey guys, welcome back to another few chapters of Peter Brown's The Wild Robot. Right next to me, I have a book called Robo Book. If you haven't checked out this book, you definitely need to. It's fantastic. It is read aloud, life-changing. You might recognize the author. Look it up. I'm not even going to waste anything. Chapter 56, The New Lodges. The second lodge would have to be bigger than the first if it was going to fit Broadfoot, the bull moose. He was a towering honk of an animal and had a thick coat of fur. But even he was struggling in the frigid temperatures. Broadfoot lived on the other side of the pond, in a dense section of the forest that was home to many animals, most of whom were in desperate need of a good thaw. The winter days were short, so there was no time to waste, and rather than walking all the way around the pond, Roz tested its frozen surface to see if it was safe to cross. She threw a heavy rock high in the air and watched it bounce off the hard ice. Then she carefully walked over the ice and into the forest to the other side, where she found Broadfoot waiting for her. The moose quietly led the robot to a clearing in the trees, where the new lodge would go. Then Roz made a fire and watched the cold creatures begin crawling out from the shadows. "Do not worry," the robot said to the growing crowd, steam puffing from their noses. "You will all be warm soon, but I need your help." Roz asked the animals to collect anything useful they could find: large stones, strong branches, chunks of frozen mud. With the robot's building expertise and the small army of helpers, construction of the second lodge didn't take long. The animals happily agreed to the robot's truce, and then they shuffled into the warm wooden dome. "If you keep the fire alive, it will keep you alive," explained Roz as she dropped another log in the flames. "But be careful, fire can turn deadly in an instant." At dawn, heavy snow was falling again, and there was Roz setting out from the nest to build a third lodge. She trudged into the great meadow, where fierce winds had created enormous sweeping snowdrifts. But she powered through to finish the job, and soon began work on the fourth lodge, and then the fifth. The island became dotted with lodges that all glowed warmly through the long winter nights, and inside each one, animals laughed and shared stories and cheered their good friend Roz. Sounds wonderful and dreamy. I love sitting around a fire in the winter. Chapter 57, The Fire. Strange sounds were echoing from the far side of the pond. What started as a low murmur gradually swelled into a chorus of terrified voices. There was an eerie glow in that part of the forest, and a thick plume of smoke began rising up from the snowy treetops. Roz charged across the ice and found the second lodge completely engulfed by a raging fire. Frightened animals were running in every direction, fleeing for their lives through the deep snow. "What happened?" shouted Roz as Broadfoot galloped wildly past. "We put too many logs on the fire pit," he said without stopping. "The flames climbed up to the ceiling." "My baby is still in there," cried Mother Hare, pointing at the burning lodge. "Somebody help, please." Roz didn't hesitate. She plowed through the snow and ducked into the lodge. Flames and smoke were everywhere. A tall stack of logs blazed in the fire pit, and in the far corner, a tiny ball of fur shaking with fear. Crouching low, the robot wound her way beneath the smoke and around the flames and gently scooped up the young hare. "Do not worry," Roz yelled over the fire. "You are going to be okay." She turned to leave, but the doorway had started to crumble. So she shielded the hare with her body and smashed right through the walls of the lodge. Sizzling pieces of wood went flying as the robot and the hare burst outside the soft wall. "Oh, darling, you're all right," cried the mother hare, pulling her daughter close. "Thank you for saving my baby, Roz." Now that everyone was safely away, the robot turned her attention to putting out the fire. Her glowing eyes darted around as she computed a plan. Then, with all the strength in her legs, Roz launched herself high into the snowy branches of the nearest pine tree. A moment later, the tree was shaking violently, and heaps of snow were sliding down its branches and pouring onto the flames like an avalanche. Steam hissed up through the smothering mound of snow. The flames quickly died, the snow quickly melted, and within minutes, all that remained was the charred foundation of the lodge. Roz dropped down from the tree and waited as the frightened animals slowly returned. Then she said to them, Would you like another lodge? The animals looked at one another, unsure of what to do. Understandably, they were afraid of another fire breaking out. But they were far more afraid of the deadly cold. So they pulled together and worked with Roz and built a bigger, better lodge on top of the old one. It had a taller ceiling and a deeper fire pit. It was made with more rock and less wood, and it had a supply of water for emergencies. But the most important safety features was the rebuilt lodge were the lodgers themselves, who now had a whole new respect for fire. Thank you guys for tuning in again. I don't know. I hope you're loving this book as much as I am. It's one of my happy places. So thank you, Peter Brown, for making such a magical book. Thank you guys for taking the time to read with me today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.